in the journey toward peace, can you each share the pivotal moments that inspire you to shift from being a freedom fighter and a soldier to becoming advocates for peace?
You know why we fight in the first place? We fight to achieve justice and freedom, the Palestinian side, to our people. So if we have another opportunity to achieve the same goal without fighting, means without using the armed struggle or the violence, of course it's much better. But in fact, our reality, everything push you to be violence, to be active in violence ways. It's the opposite. Until you meet your enemy, until you meet the other side in the personal level, like me and Rami, for example, when we meet as our goal is to create a partnership for peace, not to be friends, not to love each other, not to like each other. Sorry. And the result, of course, we are human beings. If we come to the same conclusion that only peace can protect us, can gives us the security and justice to live in peace, we will follow this manner. Yeah, as I said, it's a long way. It's not like a turning point in one moment. It's a longer process to come to this conclusion.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
I was a victim of the Israeli upbringing method of the Israeli brainwashing system. I was born to a Holocaust survivor. I grew up in the Israeli education. And this man who I'm called my brother today, and he's the closest person to me on earth, when I was growing up, was completely hidden from me. But in purpose, in order to enable me to be able to sacrifice my life in time comes. We are talking about two societies at war, and they need to prepare the young generation to be able to sacrifice themselves. And the only way to do it is by hiding the other side, demonizing the other side. So this is the way I grew up. I was a soldier. I participated in 3 wars. I raised a family in Jerusalem, and I was quite detached from the everyday life. I was living in a bubble, detached from the outside world, minding my own business. And 27 years ago, this bubble of ours was blown up to millions of pieces by 2 Palestinian suicide bombers who blew themselves up in the center of Jerusalem. And a year later, I joined the Parent Circle, which is an organization of Israelis and Palestinians who lost their loved ones in the conflict. And they believe that the basic issue of this victimhood is we pay the highest price possible because of this ongoing abnormal situation in which one people is dominating the other, the Israeli occupation of the Palestinian territories. And the year after I lost my daughter, my 14-year-old daughter, I was invited to join a meeting of this group of crazy people. And this meeting changed my life. I was 47 years old. It was the first time in my life I met Palestinians as human beings. And ever since then, I'm in a journey towards my brother Bassam, towards his culture, towards his music, his food, his history, his narrative. And I'm still in the middle of this journey while my other Israelis don't even start to make this journey.
Wow. It's very inspiring how you guys changed your perspective and see the other side of the story as well. So in the overcoming challenges in dialogue, given your backgrounds on opposite sides of the conflict, how do you initially navigate the skepticism and mistrust from your communities with when you started working together? What advice do you have for others who wants to breach divides?
You know, when we talk about trust between enemies, it's almost impossible. the magic or the key, let me say, to start bridging the divides, it's only when you start to listen. When you start to listen to the other side and respect what the other side said, it's the only way to let him sit down and listen to your narrative, to your story. You know, if we don't meet each other from far away, it's always, you know, the enemy, and the enemy have no human face. And I follow what Jalaluddin Rumi says. When he says, yesterday I was clever, so I start to change the world. Today I am wise, so I start to change myself. First, you need to listen to yourself, to change your view towards the others. Then you will expect the others to listen. Then you can create partnership. Then you can create trust. The trust between the Israelis and the Palestinians, that both sides need to recognize the right of the other side in self-determination. This is the only guarantee to live in peace and security. When you trust your enemy that he's a real partner, this is the beginning of the end of any conflict. And this is the beginning to start any relationship on any level. Respect the other side, listen to him, he will respect you and listen to you, then trust will come.
Wow, that is very true. I mean, the fact that you were able to actually listen to the other side, that's amazing. Do you want to share anything else? What about the other side?
There is no other side. In fact, there are no sides here.
Right.
We are the people who pay the highest price possible. We pay this price because there is a huge wall of hatred and fear that divide our two nations today. Now we are talking about two sides, but the two sides is not between Israelis and Palestinians. The line that divide us separate between those who want peace and are willing to pay the price of peace and all the others. And in that sense, what we are doing is banging our heads against this very high wall of hatred and fear, using the willingness of both societies to listen to us as people who pay the price. And we put cracks in this very high wall of hatred and fear. And through these cracks, a little light comes in, and a little light can drive away a lot of darkness. Now, we are not illusioning ourselves. It's not an easy task. It's like talking to the wall sometimes. But no one can listen to us and remain the same. When we speak to Israeli kids and to Palestinian kids and we tell our story, the crack in the wall enables the light to come in. And as far as I'm concerned, even in the end of the class, there will be only one kid, Israeli or Palestinian, nodding his head with acceptance to this message. It's a miracle. We saved one drop of blood. In Judaism, one drop of blood is the whole world. And I think we make a difference.
Yeah, you definitely are. You definitely are. The power of personal transformation. What message would you like to convey to people who are still entrenched in the conflict, given your unique journeys? How can personal stories like yours inspire change?
Yeah, in fact, when we talk about the collective level, we are under the Israeli occupation. It's military occupation. And we have the right to fight and to use armed struggle, all means in order to end this occupation. But it's very important when we talk about the personal stories. For us, you know, we are stories. Every human being has his own story, his own narrative. We don't try to convince anyone. And the good thing in the storytellings that we learn from each other and we teach each other, that you cannot argue with me. This is my personal experience. It happened to me. This is how I grow up. This is what I understand. So you need to listen to me again, and I will listen to you. The personal transmotive, it's very important because you will like affect the others. Always I said, if there is no Bassam in the Palestinian side, you will never find Rami in the other side. So when we talk to the people in logic, for example, we understand that we will live on this land. No one will disappear because the other side is wish that. It's a fact. So can we live together or side by side without killing each other? Or we will continue to kill each other. It's very simple. We sacrifice our lives for the land. We meet each other under the ground. And the land didn't recognize us. So why we are fighting? We are fighting for our dignity, our lives, for justice, for democracy, for freedom. We will continue to fight until we become free. And the other side wants security, the Israelis. They will never feel security until I feel free. So release me from your jail, you will have security. It's very logic, it's very simple, and of course people listen to that and they want to follow us.
Yeah, definitely. Your personal story is what unites each other. So, would Brother Rami like to add anything to this?
I follow my teacher, Bassam. I follow his wisdom. I follow his nobility. And I learn a lot out of it. And I think we are setting an example to our both societies that it can be different, that we can use our pain in a different way, that we don't have to live on our swords forever. It's not written anywhere. And we can change this endless cycle of violence and revenge and retaliation. And it's our moral obligation to show our peoples the possibility of living together. We are here in Switzerland. There are 5 nationalities here living together without killing each other. So many places around the world, United States, Belgium, Canada, other places where people are living together from different ethnicities and they respect each other. And in fact, this is a key word. You have to be able to respect the guy next to you exactly as you want to be respected, no more and no less. Once you achieve this, all the rest are technicalities. We can talk about it, we can discuss it. You can have the Temple Mount for 2 hours, I will have it for 1 hour. It doesn't matter as long as I respect you, as long as you are equal to me.
Definitely. That's something that we can all apply to our everyday lives, actually.
Yeah.
So, in changing perspectives over time, if you could speak to your younger selves during the height of your involvement in the conflict, what would you say to challenge the perspectives you held at the time? What lessons have you learned that might help others reconsider their stance? We like to start with that.
I will say like this, never regret the past, never. It happened. Judge it, learn from it to move towards the future. But if you ask me at that time, in the said circumstances, with the knowledge that I know, I will repeat it again, the same, exactly. In this case, you cannot deny your past, your identity, how you grow up, how you judge yourself. If I move back as a teenager now with what I know, of course, I will act differently because I learned that if you know more, you act much better. If you don't know, so you don't know. In these circumstances, this is how we act. If you regret about the past and you will feel guilt, so you will never move on. This is what happened. And because of that, we understand the societies, we understand the anger that our societies go through. For that, it's very easy for us to approach it because we was there. We live the same experience. We have the same feeling. Now, when you respect their past, because you respect their past, again, it's very easy to move them. It's very easy to convince them. It's very easy for them to follow you because almost they hear the truth. And the truth, always when you hear it, it's something familiar. So I believe it's a great lesson to learn from the past, to remember the past, but never live in the past. Otherwise, you will remain stuck in this very painful past, and you will never have the ability to move on and to overcome your fears, your crimes sometimes, your brutality, whatever. You need to look forward and to build your future according to the very painful past to have a new future.
That is very wise. Thank you so much for sharing that. How about Brother Rami?
I just wish I knew Bassam when I was back then a young person, that I was aware of his wisdom and nobility. I probably could have persuaded more young Israelis to change their minds and choose the other way. But as Bassam said, there are no regrets. My past is myself. My past is part of what makes me me. And it's built layer upon layer upon layer to create who I am today. And in that sense, it's very important that when I face the Israeli society and talk to them, that I'm not coming from above. I'm not a university professor. I'm not wiser than them. I'm not more intelligent than them. I'm one of them. I had the same experiences as they are, and I'm not looking down at them. I'm not patronizing them. I'm telling them from the experience of myself, from the depth of my pain. I'm offering them an opportunity to change, to choose a better way.
That is awesome. That is very inspiring that you guys were able to use your past and experiences as knowledge to become who you are today. So moving on to the grassroots peace initiatives. What role do grassroots organizations like Combatants for Peace play in complementing official peace processes? How can these initiatives create a sustainable impact on the ground?
You know, we says like we don't belong to a political organization. We are not political organization. I mean the Pearl Circle Families Forum that we are members in, the bereaved families who lost their beloved ones to the conflict, and also Combatants for Peace as co-founders of Combatants for Peace. It's very clear that we are looking for a political solution, but through civil society activity. We want to raise awareness among the Israelis and the Palestinians. They will make the political decision during their through their elections, for example, to elect the right person who want peace, to follow them in order to achieve peace for both sides. So in this case, I believe we have a lot of effects on the grassroots level, on the society level, and this society absolutely will affect the politicians. And when we have any opportunity to talk to any politician, of course we will do. And we did a lot campaigning, but of course not with this kind of fascist government in Israel, for example. We approached many American politicians in order also we believe they have the key to make a pressure on the Israeli government to stop this genocide, this occupation, these massacres, which we will continue if the situation will continue like this. We will continue to fight. You know, they assassinate Yassin, they assassinate, I don't know, Arafat, they assassinate Sinwar yesterday and Hezbollah before 2 weeks. They will never finish the problem. It's not a problem with persons. It's a problem with the occupation. It's a problem with every Palestinian citizen. So I believe through this message to say to the Israelis, only peace with the Palestinians can bring you security. They need to rethink again when they elect another government, to elect the right people, the brave people who are ready to pay the price of peace and make peace agreement with the Palestinians. This is our succeed.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. Absolutely. And Brother Rami, what would you like to share in that aspect?
I'm a little bit more skeptical about the ability of organizations and also politicians to change a situation which characterized in two basic elements, which are deep rooted into our culture, into our very being. The first one is the victimhood mentality. I'm speaking as a Jew. We are carrying on our backs 3,000 years of victimhood, a real victimhood. We didn't invent it. It's under our skin. We are afraid of everything. We consider to be the ultimate victims. No one else is allowed to be victim. And when our kids are growing up, when they are 16 years old, we send them to Auschwitz to teach them what victimhood means, and they come back draped with the national flag and the slogan "Never Again." And then the next day they sit in a checkpoint and they have to make a decision whether this old guy coming towards them is a grandfather or a terrorist, which is inhuman. So what we need to do, first of all, and before any other activity, is get rid of the victimhood mentality, is understand that looking back all the time and digging into our roots and repeating, touching the open wound again and again and again will not heal it. We need to look forward. We need to work in all levels of society, not to forget. You cannot forget and you cannot forgive. But you need to choose a better way to live. You need to choose life over death. You need to choose future over remembrance. And this sacred remembrance days and minutes and are not taking her anywhere. So I don't think it's up to the politicians, and it's not up to any organization. We need to work very, very slowly. We are talking about banging our heads against the wall and putting cracks in this wall of hatred and fear. And more than anything else, change the walls within our heads, which are the outcome of our education and upbringing. This need to be changed. We need to get rid of the victimhood mentality, and we need to get rid of the Jewish superiority. These are two things that prevent us from living a normal life like any other country, any other way all around the world. So we need to concentrate on changing this. And this can be done only by talking to each other.
I think you said a few things that are very important. And well, what you said, it's all important, but something that we can take away from this, it's choosing life over death and healing the past. And I think that's very inspiring. And it's, yeah, it's going to be slow process, but I do believe that peace can be a result of this. So in addressing barriers to peace, why the moderate and peace-loving political parties on both sides have lost the power, and how the extremist parties on both sides were able to gather support for them. What can be done again to bring silent majorities behind the moderate political parties and bring them back to the power? Who would like to start with that?
I want to say that, in fact, it's not fair to compare both sides here. We are not both sides. We are not equals at all. Israel is the occupier, the Palestinians under the occupation. So we didn't deal with both sides as like there are two sides, there are two countries, there are two governments. And if you are a Palestinian, it's very difficult to talk about fanatic or extremism. You are under a military occupation and you resist this occupation. Of course, resistance is very brutal. Resistance, why you occupied me and expect me to fight you with the flowers? So this is the point. Number two, even the Palestinian president say that he need a permit to move from one neighborhood to the other in the same city where he lived, from the Israelis and the Americans. So there is no both sides here. And according to the Palestinian president and politicians, we meet them many times in the personal level. They have no problem with us. They support us, but they have no power. Now, who decide the atmosphere on the region? It's the stronger. The stronger here is the occupier, is Israel. So I remember the same president who elect the Palestinian president, 1 year later, they elect Hamas. The same people. Now give the same people hope for peace. Peace talks at the end of I don't know, 1 year, 5 years, 6 years, they will have their own state. The vast majority of those people will follow peace, as it's happened back in 1993 when Oslo Agreement had been signed between Israel and PLO. It's the same people. Give them hope, they will follow. Ask them to fight, they will fight. And this is what we are saying, that we fought each other more than 100 years. The result, until now, Israel is not safe. Palestine is not free, but more blood, more pain, more victims. And the last event, the conflict didn't start in the 7th of October. Unfortunately, it didn't end in the 8th of October. So people need to remember that what happened there in 2 hours, this separation wall that the Israelis and the Americans invest in billion and billion of dollars to build it, it fell down in 2 hours. Imagine if they use the same amount of money. If they have will to peace, they will make peace. They will build 10 Gazas and 10 West Banks and 3 Israel with the same money that they invest to fight each other and to keep the occupation continue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we all wish that the money was spent towards peace more than war, but it's not the case. What about Brother Rami? Is there anything you'd like to add to this?
The only thing I have to add is there is the current situation, which is black than black. We are deep up to here in our victimhood, in our blood, in our pain, in our anger, and our humility, and it's very difficult for us to step out of it. But if you rise up above the current situation and you look at the historical direction, then there is no other way. I was a soldier in 73 with a horrible situation. And 5 years later, there was a peace agreement with Egypt, which holds on until today. Look at the Irish people. 800 years it took them to get to their agreement. They don't like each other, but they don't kill each other. The Berlin Wall fell down. The Soviet Union collapsed. The apartheid regime disappeared. United States and Japan. Atomic bomb. What else do you need? They are the best friends. The Germans, the French, the English. Things are changing. Things are changing. Bassam always said that the Israelis did not kill 6 million Palestinians, and the Palestinians did not kill 6 million Israelis. And there is a German ambassador in Tel Aviv and an Israeli ambassador in Berlin. So if you look at the wider picture, the outcome is obvious. One day we will live in peace. When the price of not having peace will exceed the price of peace, the two sides will crawl back to the negotiating table to start again where they left off 24 years ago in Camp David. This is the historical direction.
Well, we hope that we achieve peace sooner than later. But thank you both for sharing these amazing stories and knowledge as well. And we would like to apply what we took from this interview into our model and program as well for Pledge for Peace.
Please
And
do.
yes. And now we'd like to ask you what sort of like your insights as well for this organization. What would you say about pledgeforpeace.org model to create peace and strengthen democracies in Israel and Palestine. And a little bit about our model is that it unites peace-loving people from around the world, especially Israelis and Palestinians, where they can suggest solutions and rank the political parties on peace and democracy index. So those parties may come back in the power who score high on peace and democracy. Is there anything you'd like to comment on that? And it would be very important for us to hear.
I think Pledge for Peace organization, you are doing a sacred job. Every positive effort towards peace, justice is very important. And especially when you talk about democracy, a real democracy, not state democracy. We know that what's the meaning of democracy for the states. It means the governments, but a real democracy. It's the only guarantee that we will live side by side around the world, not only in Palestine, Israel, respecting each other. If you don't protect democracy, democracy will never protect you. So I believe what you are doing is sacred, is very important, and never give up, because if you act, absolutely, you will see the achievement, even if it will take long time, but this is our way to go step by step until we arrived, and we will arrive. All of us together, we will make our world, our universe much better and much safer.
Thank you. That's very inspiring to us to hear. And is there anything finally for Brother Rami that he would like to tell us about our model?
I'm afraid I don't know so very much about your model, but I know about my model.
Yes.
And my model is Mr. Bassam Aramin. My model is people who are willing to pay the price of peace, people who are willing to respect each other, people who are willing to treat each other in equality and not patronize each other. I always say I'm the son of a Holocaust survivor. My late father was an Auschwitz graduate. 85 years ago, they took my grandparents to the ovens here in Europe, and the free and civilized world stood aside, never lifting one finger. And today, while these two crazy nations of ours are massacring each other without any mercy, while this genocide is taking place in Syria and atrocities in the Ukraine, and wherever you look, and the free and civilized world is still standing aside, doing nothing. And standing aside, doing nothing, while a crime is being committed is also a crime. We don't want people to import our conflict to their societies. We don't want people to be pro-Israeli or pro-Palestinian. This will not help us, this competition of victimhood. We demand of you to be pro-peace and to be against injustice and against this ongoing situation in which one people is dominating the other. This is the essence of the problem. It must be changed. It can be changed. And I will finish with a message of a Jew. And I am a proud Jew with the utmost respect to my people and to my tradition. And I will tell you that ruling and oppressing and humiliating and occupying millions and millions of people for so many years without any democratic right is not Jewish. Period. There are no two ways about it. And being against it is not anti-Semitism. And if you get into an argument, you can quote me.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think this interview was very motivating for us, actually. And it's an honor to have you both here, because we want to show the people around the world that peace can be achieved if you are really committed to achieve it. And
Absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely. We agree totally.
So
now, thank you so much. I would take over from here. What an inspiring interview from both of you. I think that it is a very, enlightening for me, and I think would be for many out there who would be watching it and would be listening to both of you. What a great example. How you have turned your losses, your sorrows, your pains into, the opportunity and in a promise and in a bright future. As you said that if there is going to be even a small crack in the wall, right? That is the source of the light. And I think that's what you're creating, and it is extremely inspiring for us. So thank you so very much. I have a couple of questions because, even though I did not really want to be part of this, and I thought that Chelsis is going to be doing it, but I'm so inspired myself that I cannot stay quiet. So on a personal level, I would like to jump in and ask a couple of questions.
Please.
As one of the board members of Pledge for Peace, that, what we see, like even if you take an example of America, right, in USA, when slavery used to be here, so blacks legally were the slaves of whites, right? In Palestine and Israel, it is at least there is an understanding that the Palestinians are not legal slaves of Israelis. But in USA, the blacks, they were the legal slaves of whites. And, from there, the country, how the Civil War happened, and how a majority of the white people, they stood up for this cause. The great leaders of America, from George Washington to Abraham Lincoln and all the great leaders, they were not blacks. Martin Luther King definitely is the greatest leader, for peace and democracy. But if you see the source of change, that was mainly from many, many moderate, peace-loving, democracy-loving white people, where it came from that no, slavery is wrong and this needs to be turned around. And together, blacks and whites in America over the years, they fought for it. And there were two different sources. There were two different differentiations here for the leadership. One who would create hate, who would create fear, who would create, that they're gonna kill you, they're bad people, they're this, they're that. And the other side of the leadership was hope, justice, peace, democracy, non-violence. And eventually, America showed to the world that yes, we can come to the table, we can come to the agreement. My question to you is that what happened in Israel and Palestine? There used to be Labour Party back in 1980s and 1990s, right? Which was a bit more moderate, and Meret's party, which used to be a bit moderate, and still I think they are, and now they have combined into the Democrats of Israel. And same goes on the Palestinian side, where Hamas was not really that active. And what I see that that the hate and the divisiveness and the differences, the religion, all these kind of things were used as tools by these hardliners as a way for them to attract the masses and be able to come into the power. And then the last 25, 30 years, the moderates were pushed aside. And then these hardliners on both sides, they came into the power. So my question to you is, and I would like to really understand that why moderate parties in both sides, they lost that recognition, and why the peace-loving Israelis and Palestinians, they were trapped by these hardliners on both sides and were able to stand behind these hardliners, behind Hamas, and unfortunately, I would say the current Israeli leadership as well. And these, parties, they were able to use the hate and religion and differences as a way to get into the power. Give me a little bit insight on that from both of you, please.
I will say like this, George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, I don't believe that they were peace lovers or democracy defenders, but they were intellectuals. This is the only difference. Now you remind me with what Nelson Mandela says. He says, I didn't end the apartheid regime by the rifle of the black South African fighters, but with the minds and pencils of the white intellectual South Africans. The people, when they understand that they cannot continue like this, then politicians suddenly became pragmatic and put an end. When the father of the apartheid regime in South Africa understand that they cannot continue like this, suddenly the same person who create the apartheid suddenly recognize the apartheid, suddenly understand that they cannot, this minority, rule over the majority as slaves. In our situation, it's the same mentality. If you ask me, this is what I hope so. I work so. This is one of my goals, to talk to the white intellectual Israelis, to let them understand that you will never have security until I have security. They need to look forward to understand that they cannot continue like this. Again, to judge Hamas and Israel, even I don't accept it. We are not on the same level. What do you expect from Hamas? It's not a conflict between Hamas and Israel. It's an occupation among the Palestinian people. Hamas is the creation of Israel. PLO is the creation of Israel. Fatah is the creation of Israel. There is no occupation. There is no Hamas, no Fatah, no Popular Front, no Islamic Jihad. If you want Hamas to disappear, end your aggression tomorrow. That's it. You will never see Hamas and others. So to talk on the same level between the occupier, what's going on now, it's more than barbaric. It's more than crimes. It's more than gangs. It's undescribable. So in the political level, and the whole world keeps silence about this crime, to blame the Palestinians, there is no fair. Now we don't agree with Hamas, with their way to end this conflict. We believe we fought each other more than 100 years. The result until now, Israel is not safe, Palestine is not free. We don't need more war. We can fight. We are not cowards. But we claim that we want to live and not to die. So in this case, we are killing each other. Let us sit down and talk, because I understand that in the end, even if we defeat them militarily, we need to sit down and talk. So let us sit down now and talk, and to save those lives from both sides.
Okay, Brother Rami, I'm gonna come to you, but because Brother Bassam is making very good points, I have to ask another question from him. Okay, PLO, Fatah, Hamas, they're all creations of Israel, and I do, also I think that it does make a lot of sense. But my question is, where is the Martin Luther King of Palestine today? Where is Bassam Aramin, who is not coming to the road and saying, I am the Martin Luther King of Palestine, and I believe in non-violence.
But Bassam Aramin is the Martin Luther King of Palestine.
He is, right? I'm just trying to double check. Oh, that's the only thing I'm doing.
I understand. Briefly, Martin Luther King, the Palestinian, and Nelson Mandela, the Palestinian, and Gandhi, the Palestinian, they are in jail, my brother. They are in the Israeli prisons for more than 30 to 50 to 40 years until now. They are in jail. This is what they face. So
what you're saying is that as soon as any bit moderate or peace-loving kind of a political party try to stand up in Palestine, they are forcibly put into the jail. Is that
or be assassinated?
Or assassinated.
Yeah. They have two ways.
Hmm.
For that, luckily, I am not very famous like Martin Luther King or whatever.
Don't worry, we believe in you. Okay,
Yeah.
Brother Rami,
For,
you come to us.
for that, just to add one thing, we thought it's 5 minutes, but we're going to talk longer. Uh, 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 you know, the Israeli government abandoned us in the parent circle, me and my brother Rami and others, to go to talk to the Israeli kids, to spread the message of peace and reconciliation and recognition and understanding. Why? Because we are very dangerous, because we are poisoning the minds of the kids. So, which Martin Luther King you are talking about?
No, I understand, but I tell you, and I'll come to my point. But Brother Rami, your turn, please. Enlighten us why the hatred has taken over love, why the moderates, Labour Party, Emirates, they have lost.
They
What
are not
can
so
we do?
moderate, Labour Party. They are not so moderate, even Meretz. And you show complete ignorance. This the conflict started 150 years ago with a slogan, a Zionist slogan, which says a land without a people for a people without a land. This is the beginning. Now, if you look at the Labour Party and if you look at Meretz, they are representing this slogan. And the far point that they are willing to go is the two-state solution. But most of the Israeli left was killed by Mr. Ehud Barak in Camp David in the year 2000. There are no more leftists in Israel, and there are no more peace-loving people. And what is dominating the Israeli society today is the victimhood mentality, is the feeling that no matter what, we have to hold the sword in our hand, and the minute we will let it down, we are dead in the sea. And this is something that is put into your veins from day one, from kindergarten, until you go to the army. And this is something which is deep, deep inside us. Look at the Israeli media now, after October 7th. They are repeating and repeating and repeating every second of October 7th, and are incapable of moving forward because they are deep down in their anger, in their humiliation, in their will to revenge, and they turn the right for self-defense to the right for revenge. So we are talking about sick society. We are talking a society without any moderates, without a sane voice. Even the what is known as leftists, as Meretz, as a Labour Party, and all this, all are united in this lunacy which we cannot get out of it. And as I always say, and I will say it again and again as long as I need, we need to do a restart, like in a computer. We need to redefine the reasons that we are willing to kill for and die for. We need to make a plan how to get rid of those old truths and find another way in which Mr. Bassam Aramin can be my president and my king and my emperor and my whatever he wants to be, because we are equal. And the basic problem is the definition of the state as a Jewish democratic state. It doesn't work. It's contradictory. You cannot be a Jewish state and be democratic. You cannot be democratic and be in Jewish state. And this is the essence of the problem. Now, if you go to the demonstrations against Mr. Netanyahu, no one is talking about this big elephant in the center of the room. The word occupation is not there. And this is the essence of the problem. And most of the Israelis are incapable to face it. And this is the problem.
And I agree with you. And thank you for enlightening us. And really, we are ignorant when it comes to it. We want to learn from you. And that is why we are having this conference. So thank you for your insight. But my point again goes here is that, and I'm using as an example that the blacks, they were being killed. Blacks were being put into the jails. Blacks were being done. They were being controlled by the government and all that, right? my point to you is, and I think we're going to be finishing it in 7 minutes, that what do we do? How do we bring the masses to the roads? How do we bring the moderates together? Pledgeforpeace.org is an effort to bring the masses together where they can go ahead and they can create the solutions, and they can go ahead and they can put their names next to the parties and say, okay, you know what, out of these 8, at least this one party has a little bit of credibility. Let's support, and then let's try to influence them and then bring them to the power. What I understand the problem. I want to know the solution. What do we do to go ahead and start bringing this change back into the minds of people, that when moderates would be behind a political party, two-state solution is possible? Brother Rami, you start this time. Tell us, what is the solution? How do we convince the Israelis, especially in this case, the moderates? I'm not talking about the powers. I'm not talking about the leaders. I'm
Okay,
talking about the
let me
simple
answer.
people. Yeah.
We can change the minds of people. We can change the thinking of people by not beating around the bush and not telling them lies, and not portray the future in bright colors which are not existing. What we need to do is to redefine the reasons that we are killing or die for. What we need to do is to do research. We need to tell the people that we can have one state, we can have 2 states, we can have 10,000 states, we can have federation, we can have confederation. All these are technical solutions. A state is not a sacred thing. You don't die for the state and you don't kill for the state. It's a technical tools. You pay your taxes, you get services, you get security, you get roads. You don't die for it. And we need to redefine the reasons of which we are dying and killing. And I said earlier, and I will repeat it 10 times more, the key word is respect. The key word is equality. I need to be able to respect Bassam as I want to be respected. No more and no less. And once I achieve this, all the rest are technicalities. We can solve anything. Between the river and the sea, there are 12 million people. Half of them under military rule. Half of them don't vote for anyone. Half of them don't make the rules according which they are going to jail. This needs to be changed from the bottom.
I agree, and thank you so much. And I think what you are talking about is the dream. It's the wish, and it is a very respectful dream and very respectful wish. And I would just like add 1 cent here. I think what you two are doing and what we are trying to do with Pledge for Peace, these are the solutions. You know, what happened 100 years ago, 200 years ago, there was no social media. We have much better way to show your stories to the world and hopefully bring these people who have been hypnotized with hate and religion and all that back into the moderation. Brother Bassam, please, you give us your last part, and then we would
The
thank you.
solution is very simple for me. The solution is where you are. The solution in United States of America. Imagine United States of America invest in the last 20 years more than $41 billion to build the strongest army in Afghanistan to fight Taliban. What happened? 1 week, no fights, collapse, and Taliban come back to power. Imagine if they invest in the same $41 billion to build Afghanistan again, to spread these values of democracy and human rights and equality. What will happen? They will build 10 Afghanistans. Imagine more than 1 year. I don't want to talk about 75 years, only the last year. What's going on there? It's a genocide. It's a very clear genocide. If you wanted mass killing, welcome. If you wanted ethnic cleansing, it could be. Who prevent to stop this massacre against 50,000 kids and women? United States of America by its veto. But they are very worried. Absolutely, this is I need to say that. Always they are worried about the situation in the Middle East. So my brother, you need to work mainly with the United States of America, with the politician of the American administration, to tell them that even if you support Israel since 75 years, the Palestinians forget to die. They're still there. But you gain your life on the blood of the Israelis and the Palestinians. Both of us are victims to the American policy. I said that in the Congress. I said that to the American politicians. I said that in the media and said that to many American ambassadors. And when I told them that, they said, we agree with you.
Agreed, agreed. Okay, so this is also it's something which needs to be definitely told to our fellow Americans here that peace and democracy cannot be established and created through wars. Yes, there are examples in the history, which some people they use as an argument that look what happened in Japan, after the nuclear bomb, there is peace. Well, you know what? After the nuclear bomb, there are still babies being born in that country, without hands and without brains because of the impact of the. So the path to the peace can be through love and through respect, and exactly how both of you have pointed out, or through the other ways. But through the other ways, you're talking about devastation for centuries to come and decades to come. My personal thanks, my deepest admiration. And I think you are our solution. You are our, torch of peace and democracy. And thank you so very much for the work you both are doing. You are your inspiration for us, and we are very sorry for your losses, which you both have done. And
Thank you. Thank
on
you
your
very much.
personal level. Thank you so
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you very much.
both of you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.